Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to Around the Kitchen Table, a space for honest conversations, stories from the heart, and gentle reminders that we're all walking each other home. I'm Laura Island, mother, creative, soul led CEO of Sacred Sister CIC, and the woman behind Wise Sacred Woman. I'm a witch with ADHD. And this podcast is where we gather to share the real, raw, and radiant parts of life. Each week, we'll explore what it means to live in rhythm with ourselves, with nature, and with one another. We'll talk about womanhood, sisterhood, creativity, leadership, spirituality, and the messy magic of being a human. So pour yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's meet here around the kitchen table, where stories are medicine and every voice belongs. Good morning, good morning, good morning, sisters. Welcome to Friday the 13th. For those of you who have not listened to me before, welcome, welcome. I know we have a lot of new followers and a lot of new people watching our podcast and listening to our podcast, and I just want to appreciate you right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because these things take time, and sometimes you wonder, is anyone going to listen? Is anyone interested? Is anyone going to care? And actually, just seen a magpie fly into the garden. Morning, Mr. Magpie. How's Mrs. Magpie and all the other magpies? Anyone else got that old superstition? You always have to welcome in the magpies. And as I look out in the garden, there's like daffodils. And yet it's pouring with rain again on another February rainy, grey day. It's a bit of blue sky out there. So this podcast kind of came to me at 4:44 this morning. I woke up, did the thing the girls do, I woke up, went for a pee, came back to bed and was like, podcast is me today. What am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to share with you? And I realized there is so much right now. So thought maybe it was time to share a little bit more about how I actually got here and why this feels so important to me. But also, there's the final shedding of the snake year. There's feeling the fire horse coming. It's February the 13th. It's like we can talk about how transition seasons stir old stuff, how when you're stepping into something bigger, old stories get loud. Every time I grow, the old version of me tries to have the final word. It's like, remember, remember, this is a thing. You haven't dealt with it yet, even though I might have dealt with it over and over and over again. I'm multitasking right now. I have to keep my phone open here because it's uploading my Friday the 13th post that I've just done to Instagram that tells you more about Friday the 13th. Anyway, I'm here. I'm still in my pajamas. There's been a lot going on this morning. I have made myself a yummy yogi rose tea with some honey. My rose tea says, infinity, which is your unknown, guarantees your happiness. That'll do for me. So let's just gently kind of take our way through this morning and see where we end up. I feel like it's time to kind of begin to really listen more deeply. And I want to start by this reclamation of Friday the 13th, because we've been taught, and my daughter just came in now and she went, oh my God, Mum, it's Friday the 13th and I'm going to ride my horse, and what if I fall off? I mean, this is my child who has grown up with me, who knows that that's utter BS. So I just went back and kind of explained to her, come on, it's like we have to wake up to this reality. We have to wake up to this reality of the patriarchy who made it bad, made 13 bad because it was to do with women. Friday the 13th is, connected, the number 13 is connected to the moon, our lunar cycles, our bleed. And so, of course, it stands to reason that they would spin a story that said Friday the 13th is unlucky so that we would start to fear the number 13. And so for me, the Friday the 13th is always a beautiful day of reclamation. You know, my candles are lit. I lit them this morning for all feminine lineage and for all the women around the world that need that light right now. And that's a really simple ritual you can do. Anytime you light a candle, just say a little prayer of where you're sending that light. We've become very skeptical of ritual and prayer because of the church and because of how it, for most of us, we've been brought up. Ritual and prayer wasn't a part of my childhood. It was like not a thing. But then I realized yesterday I was on a call with the Heart of the Rose team. If you don't know, Heart of the Rose Festival happens in September, and I'm part of their team and helped them to kind of get Heart of the Rose kind of moving. And I'm like the consultant, the godmother to Heart of the Rose and to Sophie. And I love those roles that I have in other women's events because it allows me to really pass down the wisdom of 30 years of running events. And so on that call, she asked us what the rose meant to us. And I realized like I'm always a bit like I feel like the fraud in the room often. I still do this old pattern of what do you know? Like who's going to listen to you? This dreadlocked hippie who doesn't really know anything. And that's because I grew up in a family that didn't get me, didn't understand me. So in this final shedding, I've been sharing, I don't know if you've seen on our socials, I've been sharing some rituals running up to this, the 17th. So we're on day 3 today. But I don't share those things from a place of still watching the magpie who's been joined by Mrs. Magpie now, and they're wandering around the garden, taffing over leaves, looking for some food. I love nature. I love the earth. I love the trees. Um, I love my ADHD brain. So this is definitely not the polished Instagram version, just so you know. So in this final shedding and that being in that, I don't do that just to be on social media. I do it because this is what's moving through me. And so if you've been feeling it, the stripping back, the confronting, the old stuff rising, know that you're not alone. I had to say to my husband this morning, remember that I'm just in this process, because the snake doesn't gently upgrade you. She absolutely removes what no longer fits. A snake doesn't stop and think, "Oh, shall I shed my skin now? Is it time?" It's just time. And, just before something new begins is when the old voice can get really, really loud. So it's important to take a moment, especially if you're wanting to move and shift and go through this portal. It's important to clear your clutter in your home, wash down your doors because those are your thresholds to the outside world. Don't have anything that's kind of broken in your house. Fix it or get rid of it. Take out the rubbish. Don't leave it till the 16th, 17th, 18th portal. Just get rid of it. Those things help us to like move into that next phase. We're coming into the phase of the fire horse. The year of the horse comes around every 12 years. The year of the fire horse comes around every 60. So it's not going to come around again in our lifetime if you're my age. I mean, maybe. That'd be 110. I always said I'm going to live to 105. I think 110 might be pushing it, but I don't plan on going anywhere before 105. So anyone here can keep me accountable to that. But it's important because also we're not in a gentle year. And I love astrology and I love the moons and but I've learned to really hone my own energy and my own listening to my own wisdom to know this stuff. And it's not because I've read it in a book or it's because I feel it. I don't do astrology, so I don't look at the stars. And like I've got loads of people around me that do, and I love it. And so, yeah, I glean a little bit of kind of like information from them when they share their stuff. But more importantly, I come to what I'm really feeling. I didn't wake up one day just knowing this stuff and believing in myself. In fact, for a very long time, the foundations of my life were built on very different words. I grew up hearing things like, you're too much, you're dramatic. Oh, here she is, there's always going to be a drama. You'll never get anywhere. You're stupid. Like I got brought up on all of those things, even if they weren't said constantly, even if they were really subtle, even if it was just this critical space. Actually, I've just realized I had a really odd dream. I've been having some really odd dreams. And again, I can see why, right? We're in the year of the shedding. I had a dream about an ex-boyfriend the other day. It was really funny. We're still in contact. Our relationship was quite tumultuous. I was at my well, now I know more. I would have been at my Saturn return. So I was like, phew, and I was ill. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia at that stage. So he really looked after me. He helped me, he supported me. I literally slept on a beanbag for months. I couldn't get into bed. Every part of me hurt. Um, I now know I was going through, like, if I look back, I was completely toxically overloaded. My diet was shocking. I hadn't stopped working like 14-hour days for about 10 years in the spa industry. I was giving, 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 giving all the time, and I was empty. I'd been married and divorced already by that stage of my life, and I'd been 13 months with a police officer who used to beat me up most days, and worse still when I found out about his affairs and questioned him on them. So I would always come off worse. And he used to just say to me, what are you going to do? Tell my friends they're all coppers. And it's like, there's nowhere to go with it. And it took 13 months, which at the time felt like a really long time. Now I just like it was 13 months of my life. It wasn't a big deal. But those scars don't just go away because you leave. And even now, if my husband kind of comes up behind me, I freeze because I'm like, what's he going to do? Um, oh, I didn't know we were going to open that can of worms this morning. It's taken me till now to really be able to feel those emotions when they come up. And like I say, of course they're coming up. We're in this final shedding. I'm not taking any of this with me. So this came up in this dream and with this ex-partner, the one that came after that one. And this guy had been through some really big stuff in his life, and it's his story to tell. Um, But there was this weird dream, and I was like, we were in Edinburgh, which is where we used to live, and he was with a wife and like 10 children, and I was like, this is really weird. Like he doesn't have loads of children. Like, what's going on? Anyway, I reached out to him and said, I just had this really odd dream, and he was like, oh, I do have 10 grandchildren. I was like, oh, okay, great, that then. But what I was just thinking about was talking about my childhood. I had a teacher who was really shouty, really shouty. He shouted so much one day. We were outside. He'd asked us all to go outside, and we were doing like, I don't know, painting, crafty stuff. It was the summer. We were sat kind of on the lawn outside the window of it, and he wanted to get us back in, and he knocked on the window so hard that he put his fist through the window. Like he was a big, booming man, and there were kids at the other side of the window got covered in glass, and I remember it. And although he was this big, booming man, he was also super gentle and super connected, and he would get it, but he would get angry, and he would usually get angry when he'd been to a meeting with our head teacher and she just hadn't kind of bent to his way, and he had to do something or change something, or he'd get told all the time he wasn't allowed to do certain things with us as kids, like he'd want to go and hold the class outside and she'd say we weren't allowed, and he would get angry about that because actually he wanted us to be in nature. Anyway, he was in my dream. It was really weird. We were at a Mind Body Spirit Festival. I know that he's passed now, so he's not even on this earthly plane. But he was there as a therapist doing massages and looking after people. It was a very weird dream. So, you know, there are things moving right now. Like I said, those things that are said to us as children, like we don't filter tone. we don't understand it as children, so we just absorb it. And those words don't just disappear when you turn 25 or 35 or 45. They become the soil that your life then grows from. So at the moment, inside this tree, we are diving into what I call Rooted, which is a 6 week kind of process that really helps us to look at what are our foundations. Because if your self-belief feels shaky, it might not be because you're weak. It's really highly unlikely that it's because you're weak. It just might be that your foundations were cracked before you ever got to choose them. So I deliberately closed the doors on the sanctuary for this 6 weeks because it's not because I don't want any more women in there. It's because I'm done kind of building from fear. And so when I have to market something constantly, it doesn't necessarily allow me to really dive in. And so I didn't want to split my energy between, marketing and the depth and proving what needs to happen for this to be our foundation. So we're leaning in deeply, because if the ground underneath you is full of old patterning, old shame, I mean, we don't talk about shame. I had a beautiful call with a fellow in minister yesterday, amazing breath worker. She's just an amazing human being. And we were in this conversation and we were talking about shame. It's like we don't, I've been through 2 years of my interfaith training. I've been through hundreds of hours of counseling and therapy in my years, and still we don't really come to shame. And yet I know that all of us will be carrying shame. I carry shame about things I've done in the past. I carry shame about the ways that I've showed up in the world, or actually sometimes the ways I haven't shown up in the world. But unless we release that old pattern of shame, the old I'm not enough stories, you don't build higher. You can't. It's like I used to speak, I did a lot of network marketing over the years, and I used to speak about this in terms of sales, right? If you watched a building site begin to build a new building, they put up all these walls and these barriers, and you hear loads and loads and loads of noise behind them, and you see nothing. And then suddenly it gets above that barrier, and it just flies up, and suddenly you've got a 10-story building that, you turn around and it's there. And that's what I mean about foundations. You don't build higher, you dig first. You strengthen, you choose differently. And this is where it's so powerful. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing depth over reach. I'm not like our following is great, and I love that it's growing. And I love that we have more women connecting with us. I still get these wobbles. Somebody said this week, about our International Women's Day, why are you charging? And it's just like, because this shit isn't free, right? My time is, I do loads of things. I do a podcast every week. This takes me hours of putting it here, editing it, uploading it. All of that's for free. I do it because I love it. I write my blog every week. That's for free. I've got loads of free inspiration on our website. I do loads of meditations. I do our social media every day. All of that's for free. But if you're coming to a venue, it has a cost. If you're coming to something online with me that I've had to promote and market and pay for Zoom, like that has a cost attached. If I've created a whole registration pack, a beautiful PDF for you to take away and connect with and read, that has a cost. So when people say to me, it's I'm really into this, but why? Like, but I'm sad that you're charging. It's like, who do you think I am? Like, who do you think I am? I am not a wealthy woman by any stretch of the imagination. I'm wealthy in many ways, and I always have what I need. I'm sometimes really tight because I don't tend to ask for more than I need, and that needs to change because we have big plans. And big plans cost money in this world that we live in, and those big plans are not for me, not for my family. Those big plans are for you, for our community, for how we begin to walk this path differently. And so it isn't presence over performance for me. It's like, it has to come back to, the honoring of each other, the honoring of how we lean into this new time. And so the old pattern, this is There's an old version of me, and some of the work I've done this week, you'll see as like what's the identity that I'm ready to let go of? Who am I? Who have I been that I don't want to be in the future? You know, my old pattern. Now, this will laugh because this is kind of very much me right now. She works very hard, she overfunctions, she carries everything, she proves herself. And underneath, she's terrified that nobody will show up, terrified of empty rooms, terrified of silence, terrified of being the only one who cares. And so this week, I'm sitting with that again. Something arrived in my heart. Whew, I can really feel it still moving. This world right now is if you keep looking at it, is not a kind world in so many ways, in so many aspects. You look at let's name it. You look at what's happening out in Minnesota with ICE and across the states. You look at the fear that is being instilled in these humans, these beings, these people, these men and these women and these children. You look at the Epstein files and the most horrific, you know, stories of absolute. Oh, I just can't even go there. And then you look at how all of these survivors' names have just been like, paraded around everywhere, whilst the people who did these things are still sitting there scot-free. And I came to like, what can I do? I'm just one woman. I'm trying really hard. I show up, I do what I do. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, as my old dad would say, pissing in the wind. It's like you just don't know where it's going to land, if it's going to land at all, if it's going to make any difference. But I can't not keep showing up and doing it. My therapist said a few years ago, why does everything you have to do, Laura, have to be big? And that actually had an impact on me because it made me kind of start to play small again. But my very simple brain just says, if I can impact one person, why would I not impact 300? And my impact isn't about me. It isn't about my ego. It isn't about me saying, wow, I'm literally laughing because this magpie is literally now just flown right past the window. Definitely something to tell me. Um, it isn't it isn't about what I can get from this. It's about how, if I have this wisdom and I've opened up to this wisdom within me that came and comes from daily ritual, daily connection, daily understanding myself. And that comes from I had a hysterectomy 10 years ago. I don't have a cycle anymore. So I had to lean into, well, what is this? I didn't think I was going to have a menopause. I was like, I have surgical menopause. It was straight away. So, I was dumb as ass thinking that was the way it was going to be because 44 came around, the kind of wheels fell off. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? And I had to take this spiritual journey into the next part of my life. And the next part of my life was 49, that cycle. I'm now 50. And I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready. And so I sat here last week and One Voice Rising kind of came to me. It wasn't strategic, it wasn't planned, it wasn't on my content calendar, it wasn't even in my diary. International Women's Day wasn't even in my diary. I mean, it just landed. And I'll tell you more about it in a moment. But the old story immediately said, don't do it. What if nobody comes? And I recognized her. I recognized that voice, but this time I have not obeyed it. I'm just going to do it. I'm doing it. And there is something happening in the world right now. Systems are cracking, illusions are collapsing, people are overwhelmed. Women are carrying so much emotionally, mentally, energetically, and the era of doing it alone is over. We don't have that luxury anymore. The lone wolf woman narrative is exhausted. We either have to remember how to gather or we burn out trying to survive individually. And so One Voice Rising isn't about having a perfect event. It's not about like, who comes and who doesn't, who shows up and who doesn't. It's not about you all coming to me. Like, I'd love as many of you as possible to be with me in Western Supermare on International Women's Day. But this is more than that. This is about women gathering in their kitchens, in their living rooms, on their beaches, in the woods, in community halls, in churches. This is about how we get brave enough to step back into our streets and our communities and speak to our neighbours. And you haven't got long. You haven't got long. It's March the 8th, so it's not long. And of course, I've got all of those things going in my head of like, oh, again, not given yourself enough time. Like, how's this going to work? Are you not, but it's not. Like if I said to you, hey, do you want to go to the cinema tonight? You would know whether you had space in your diary or not, or whether you needed to get cover for the kids and whether it was okay. If I said to you, hey, this thing's coming up in 3 months' time, should we go? You'd have to think about it. So I'm saying to you, don't have to think about it. You'll know that whether you've got space and capacity on the 8th of March to give me half an hour of your time. And we just have to do it. We just have to do it, you know? So at one point in the day, it's going to be 4:30 UK time. We're going to join together. We're going to breathe together. We're going to sing together and we're going to create a wave. And the old story still tells me, what if nobody comes? And the new story says, what if they do? What if they do? What if you hear me and you know that this has to change? This world can't live the way that it lives. Honestly, I'm laughing at myself right now with the tears that come. It's like this is my whole body. I grew up in a very staunch kind of pull yourself together kind of thing. My mum right now would be like, "We crying for?" And that's not because she's a mean person, it's just because she grew up not being allowed to cry. Everyone has to be tougher than that, right? I'm not tough anymore. I think I've cried more tears in my menopause than I was ever allowed to cry as a kid. But I'm choosing to live in that question. I'm choosing to let go of all that old story of what if you don't come? What if you don't say yes? What if you don't show up? What if nobody cares? If nobody cares and nobody shows up, I will meet myself in heart coherence at 4:45 and I will send love from my heart around the world. But what if you all come? And I'm choosing to live in that question because the snake strips you, right? The fire horse moves you. The snake sheds all illusion and the fire horse runs. And the fire horse, she doesn't wait until she feels 100% certain. She moves because it's time, not because it's safe. And if I'm honest, I've lived too much of my life waiting until I felt safe, waiting until I felt validated, waiting until I felt sure. And the truth is, self-belief doesn't come first, action does. So I want to ask you something. What story are you still living from? Who told you you weren't capable? Who told you you were too much or not enough or too emotional or too ambitious or too spiritual? Is that even yours, that story, or did you inherit it? And if your foundations are cracked with old words, don't decorate the house. Strengthen the ground. You can change it now, not because it's easy, but because you are allowed to rewrite the soil you grow from. And maybe you're listening to this because something in you knows that the old story is finished. Maybe the snake has shed. Maybe you are standing at the edge of something new. And maybe, just maybe, this is the year you stop doing it alone. Because, sister, this is the time. This is the time. I'm toying with inviting you into a little meditation right now. And I can feel myself wanting to kind of put it off because when I upload this to YouTube, if I use any music, it will just take it down, slow its reach. So I'm like, can I do a meditation without any musical background? Will it have the same impact? And there again, I'm questioning myself. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna invite you. And please don't do this if you're driving. Come back to it later. But we're going to sit with the silence and my words. So take a breath with me, and if you can close your eyes, please do so. Let your body soften and feel the ground beneath you. Imagine beneath your feet soil, not perfect soil, real soil with old roots. Keep following your breath inwards and downwards to your feet. Where you begin to feel anchored, steady, solid. And as you bring that energy further down into those old roots, maybe you're connecting with old words, old memories. Now imagine gently kneeling down in that soil, placing your hands into it and feeling what is there. Whose voice lives in your foundations? Whose belief have you been carrying? Just notice it without judgment, without shame, just awareness. If emotion rises, let it rise. Your tears are welcome here. Your body needs to feel what is moving through you. This is that choice moment. Now imagine the snake, not threatening. This snake is wise. She sheds her skin without apology. She does not negotiate with the old layer. She simply outgrows it. So see yourself gently stepping out of a skin that no longer fits. Old labels, old fears, old stories of I'm not enough. Let it all fall to the ground. And in the distance, you hear hooves. These hooves are the fire horse approaching. Warm, alive, powerful, not reckless, but ready. She does not ask if you are certain, she asks if you are willing. Feel yourself standing rooted stronger, clearer, not because fear disappeared, but because you're done obeying it. Place one hand on your heart and say quietly to yourself, I am allowed to rewrite my story. I am allowed to gather. I am allowed to move. And in that quiet moment, just allow some words to bubble up inside of you, something that really anchors you in this moment. If you were to alchemize your body, your mind, your soul, your emotions, your feelings into one word that would constantly bring you back to this moment where you feel this inner strength, you know that you're ready. You're ready. Yes, it might still feel a little bit scary. Nothing happens if we don't feel a little bit of fear. but you're ready to step forward onto this new, fresh path to rewrite your story on solid foundations. Take one more breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes. I invite you to have a really big stretch. Oh, gosh, I feel like I'm shedding all the aches and the pains and the things arising, and have a good shake. I have to get up. If you need to get up and move, get up and move. Just move this here for have a good shake off. The fastest way to move any kind of old stagnant energy is to have a bounce, have a shake, have a move. So, what are you calling in? Who is the woman that you're becoming? How can you celebrate Friday the 13th and all that you are? And come and join me on International Women's Day. Wherever you are in the world, let's make this a global shift to be in heart coherence at 4:44 in the UK. And you can do this at other times around the world, but I really want to encourage us to do this, whatever your time zone is. I know that some of you, if you're watching this and you're in Australia, you're going to be up at 3 in the morning. But honestly, like this, there won't be another moment like this. If we pull together, we can hold this heart coherence around the world. Um, and when I say there won't be another moment, there'll be loads, because we are moving towards this as being the norm. We have to move towards this being the norm. But all of those moments are aligning on that day, and One Voice Rising. The reason I've called it One Voice Rising is we're going to sing the song One Voice, and the reason I've called it One Voice Rising is because each and every one of us as women need to begin to own the power and the presence of our voice. I'm done being shut down. I'm done being small. I'm done being judged. I'm done being shamed, not just by men, by other women. I'm done. And I hope that I have a group of women around me that feel the same way. I know I do. But it takes bravery to step out. And so the invitation is that we'll be online from all around the world at that time. And then I'm going to invite you to step outside. We do so much of this work in the quiet, in the dark, in the shadows. I meet women in circles inside or in the woods, or it's time for us to step out in the streets and to own who we are for all women. Comes that emotion again, because there are many women who won't be able to do it. There are many women that are in situations where it wouldn't be safe for them to step out in that way. There are many women in the world. I lived in a Muslim country. I lived in Saudi Arabia. I had to cover up every day. I wore a headscarf. I wore an abaya. I covered up. I did what I had to do to be in that country. I've lived that life, and yeah, it just has to change. For us now, but for our daughters. I have a 15-year-old, and I don't want her to grow up and, live in this world. And I don't want her to have to carry our burden. We are that generation of deep change. It can't stay the same. It has to change, you know? And what we do now will affect our daughters, our granddaughters, our great granddaughters. Let's leave a different legacy for them. Anyway, I have no idea how long this podcast is. I feel like I've been here forever with you, but I had a lot to say this morning, far more than I thought I did, apparently. So please take your time, look after yourselves, share this podcast, jump online, have a look at One Woman Rising, sacred-sister.co.uk/One Woman Rising. I'll pop it all around here in the show notes. Connect with our socials, make sure you're on our mailing list. Do the thing. Do the thing. Take action. If you don't want to sign up and register with us, if you can't be with us in person, you can also, we will live stream the full 44 Heart Coherence through our socials. Hopefully, fingers crossed, tech all being well. But yeah, I just want to say, sister, thank you. For anyone who has listened to this, if some brothers have listened to it too, thank you. Thank you for showing up and being a part of my new foundations and my story that I can do this and I will do this. And I will keep showing up till I'm 105. Take care. Laura out.